back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the concept of a streak cadence. And we are going to be only looking at this from the point of our API. So our acceptance criteria is we have one input required per, every day, or maybe once every 2 days. Maybe it's once every 3 days. Maybe it's once a week you want to do something. Maybe it's once every month you want to do something. Maybe it's once every other week that you want to do something, or once every 2 weeks. So we want to add that concept into our task type. And so there's a couple ways of actually doing this, and I'm going to pull open a little idea. So, and this is actually highlighting kind of what the UI will look like for these as well. So I have once a day, once every 2 days. And so this is pretty self-explanatory. The interesting thing on when I was thinking about working on this was, how do we want to restrict our backend on limiting the amount of, so imagine this scenario. I'm here. So right now, currently, you cannot submit another activity on the same day. But imagine this: do we want to allow someone, say they mark something yesterday, do we want them to be able to mark it today when it's only once a week? Originally, I was thinking, no, we don't want to do that, right? It works very similar to the day. But then I was thinking, well, what happens if you have the concept of you want to convert between these. So maybe you have a daily streak at one point, and then at some point in the future you're saying, you know what, I'll do this once every 2 days, and that's good. Well, now you have this weird state that you're validating that you can't have more than one item in the back end on every 2 days. But then you do have things in the back end once every 2 days. Now you could delete some of those, but maybe you don't want to delete those. Maybe there's data related to those, and converting them. Maybe what if the user wanted to go back to a once a day thing? You'd still want that granularity. So I think when we do, I think all of our quote unquote inputs, all of our tracking can really still be at the daily level. We'll still only allow one input per day, but even on these half dayers, or once every 2 days, or once a month, I think we could still actually allow them to make multiple inputs on a day, except these cadences will be more along the lines of a UI thing. So we'll make sure that we increment their streak differently, but we maybe still will actually allow them to make those granular adjustments on a daily basis. So that's going to simplify our backend somewhat, and we are going to be mainly focusing then on just adding the migrations and stuff like that to be able to host this type of this data. So let's go ahead and jump in to our project here. The first thing I think what we can do is really just go ahead and add our so we go to our entities. Now our task completion entities are really going to remain the same in the future. What is going to become different is we are going to have a new, so let's go to our actual interface. We are going to have a new, so we have this task type, and now we're going to have a cadence property, and that's going to be task cadence. And we will export type task cadence. And this is going to actually be an interface. So we'll actually call this interface. And we will have this be, we are going to have, so let's think about a cadence. We have this number. So I could just call this value. we'll call it value for now, except we're not going to be, we'll say value, and then and then this other one is going to be, it's like the time increment. So it's daily, weekly, monthly. That's what we're actually trying to do. Every, so how can we actually think about the names of these? These are kind of weird. This is a time incrementer. This is a time describer. It's a duration. It is a period. So we'll say period, and this can be day or week or month. So it's a period, and this will be, I think value is very generic here, so it's cadence, and this will be, I think, it's something period. Maybe we can do it, period, value, cadence. I mean, we can just call it a value for now. The value of the cadence, except the value really refers to the whole thing. Maybe we'll call it, not data. All right, we're just gonna go with cadence because, yeah, we're just gonna go with cadence. So we have a cadence which is required, and it is that. Now we're going to have a new item here. It's going to be called cadence, task cadence. Our default is not going to be Boolean. It is going to be a, I think what we want to do here is we want to make this a JSON stringify, and we are going to JSON stringify. Our default is going to be a value 1 period day, right? And this is going to be nullable false. Oh, this also needs to be like this, and this is nullable false, like that. Okay, now let's just double check. 1 day. Yes, that looks good. And let's go ahead and create our migration now with this. So it's just going to be, we're going to do a yarn run migration generate, and I'm going to add task cadence column. Oh, we need to go into our API project and go ahead and run that. And so data type object in task cadence is not supported by the Postgres database. So we need to make this a different type. So maybe we can say this is a object. So maybe we can just go with JSON. Let's try this. Okay, so let's go ahead and look. So we're adding a JSON table, value that, and we're throwing that in there. Okay, that looks good. So let's go ahead and throw this in our migrations now. And we are going to run our migrations. And we'll also run our migrations on our test database. So that ran. We're running on our test database as well. And then we'll actually start up our tests and see if they're working. So let's move that back. And then we're going to do npm run test. So we can close these guys out. We've got our test here, and let's go ahead and really what we want to do is just very similar to the other day. Actually, our task completions are not going to change with this. The only thing that is going to change is our, we want to add some validation. And so we already have this default, but we want to add a validation because we do want this to be specified. So validate task. And so else if not no task.cadence or no task.cadence dot value or no task.cadence dot period, we're going to send a new type. We'll say invalid task cadence we won't say this, we'll say task cadence not provided. Okay, now we're going to get a lot of errors, which is fine. So let's go ahead in here and we are going to have to specify this. So cadence is going to be, we're going to have a value of 1 and a period of day. And we're going to do this for all of these guys here. Numerical every day. Okay, let's see. Post should respond with the third body, and it looks like it's failing here. Let's see. We can try it one more time and run. Okay, we only have one failure, and that is because our put does not have the body. So this is on, let's go here. And that's because we need a cadence value 1 and period day. All right, so our test should be passing now. Looks like we had a little log here. Yeah, we don't need a log. There we go. So our test should be passing now. And now what we'll do is let's add in some more. So we want a 400 error. Let's go see where our 400 errors are at. We should be getting them at the top. So we'll post when no cadence is provided. So that means we will need to put in a name. And you know what, let's pull this down. And we will, so 400 when a bad type is provided. This really should not be only 200. This is when it, that is 200. Okay, so let's put a name and let's put a type of Boolean when no cadence is provided. So we should get an error for just this test. And it says task cadence not provided. And this really should be cadence. So in our error, this really should be cadence here. All right. And let's also validate that our, so we see that we have it, but if task dot cadence dot value is less than 1 or task.cadence.value is greater than 7, we'll say task value needs to be within 1 to 7. So we'll go ahead and make that. So this will have a cadence. It'll have a when cadence value is out of bounds, and we'll have a period, day, and we'll have a value of 10. So we should get an error. There we go. We'll fix this up. And the last thing we'll test is to make sure when cadence period is not an allowed fields. So we'll put in a value of 4, but we'll make this a year, right? Instead of month, we'll make it year. It's going to pass for us. Other tests are going to pass, but so we'll change this and we'll say task cadence. We'll say day, week, month includes period. When it does not include task period, task cadence period, not an allowed list. So we come back here, and what we can do is we can even check that our cadence, day, week, month, and our tests should be passing now. Yes, they are. So jumping back here to our to-do list, this is actually now done. Our tests are passing. Which actually means we are done with all of our back-end work. Starting in our next video, we are going to move back into the front end, and we're going to start working on some of these. We do have some kind of bigger changes on how we're going to have to allow people to actually start inputting these different types. We've been just clicking on little squares and they've been turning red or green. I think we're gonna have to turn those into a modal or something like that, where users can provide some extra input. And then we're gonna have to also handle our cadence in the front end too, to make it where our streaks are incrementing in response to what the cadence is actually set to. So with that said, I will see you in the next video, and we'll get some of these other things done. See ya.